The Guns on Pegs podcast is brought to you by ITAP Group. Hello, and welcome to the Guns on Pegs podcast with me, George Brown, and not Chris Horn. Chris is having a bit of much-deserved time off, and so instead I'm joined by Digby Taylor, Managing Director of Guns on Pegs. Digby, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, George. Hello. Very nice to be back.
It's great to have you back. I was trying to think back. When was the last time you were on the show? You've been on more than anyone.
Yes, but never consistent. I think it must be a good year and a half ago. I
just said about a year ago.
Actually, probably a year ago, it's about this time when we had a similar sort of conversation. But
yes. Yeah. Now, before we get into all of that, important questions. Have your pheasants arrived at home?
They have. They arrived on Monday, and so far so good. Although we clipped their wings as well after they'd arrived.
Right.
And me and my father were taking them out of crates, and I have to say I might have let one or two slip without clipping their wings.
So they've gone.
So
that's 20% of your stock gone.
A couple of hundred down by one or two, but yeah, no, we don't really know what we're doing, so it's all good fun. How about you?
Yeah, pheasants arrived a couple of weeks ago. They're looking good.
Your grouse
cancelled.
Oh, George.
Yeah,
oh, that's the worst.
Cancelled on the 12th.
Oh, that's the worst. I am sorry to hear that.
It was heartbreaking. Second year in a row it's been cancelled, but that will be true for many people.
Yeah.
And as I said last year, you can't miss what you've never had.
Mind, it is nice to see one or two photos kicking around of people on the moors.
Yes.
Just to see people back out and enjoying.
Yes, although I know someone who was out on the 12th, and I don't know, we're recording this on the 14th, so it's not long ago. You may remember it was very hot on the 12th.
Yeah.
I have never seen anyone look sweatier whilst wearing shooting gear. It looked absolutely unbearable.
Again,
hot.
No sympathy, but yeah.
So cover crops looking good?
Yeah, they started off a bit patchy. Took a little while to get going, but they're well away now. So that's encouraging. One new block, a new drive. Bring back a drive my grandfather used to shoot.
I was going to say this is the one I advised you to do.
Not quite.
George's drive.
We used to, or my grandfather used to shoot it 20 years ago when he got paid for set aside. But
yes,
we bought that back, and who knows how it would go? Probably the same as every other year, but very disappointingly. But it's really fun to try things, and
yeah, very good. Well, so we're going to have a reasonably serious discussion later, but we're going to have a drink anyway. So, Digby, what's that you're drinking?
Well, George, I like my cider, and I happened to be rooting around in the office cupboard and found 2 bottles of my cider that I used to sell. So that was, the last time I sold a bottle was probably 2018 or 2019.
Right, so this is vintage cider.
Vintage cider. I was expecting it to taste like cider vinegar you have on your shelf. It's actually not as bad as I was expecting, but you have to drink it through your teeth to filter out the sediment at the bottom of the bottle that's collected and maybe a bit of mold. But
it's got some colour to it.
Yeah, I think walking around the office with a glass of that made people wonder exactly what it was.
Whether you needed to go and see a doctor.
Yeah.
Perhaps we're on the way to see the doctor.
Yeah, exactly. How about you, George?
Well, similarly, rooting around in the cupboard in the office, I have found a bottle of quite warm supermarket lager, and I think that's enough said about that, really.
Fantastic. A hot day, warm beer, perfect.
Yes, exactly. So it is a really good time to have you on, because not only is it very nearly the start of the shooting season, this episode's actually going to go out in the last week of August, so just before the start of the partridge season, but also because a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, the annual game shooting census results came in.
Yes, we had the results in just in time for the game fair, which is very exciting.
Yeah, and so we're going to dig a little bit into some of that data as we have done in previous years. But in case there's anybody listening who hasn't heard of the game shooting census, can you just give a quick sort of potted history and an explainer as to what it is?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so it is the only annual picture of the shooting industry, which has everything you need to know. So it was started in 2013. We went to the organisations, so the GWCT, Basque and Countryside Alliance, amongst others more recently, and said, look, we really want to survey all of the Guns on Pegs, all of the shooting world.
And get not just Guns on Pegs.
No, exactly.
Users, yeah.
And get a year-on-year comparison of things like prices per bird, acres of cover crop planted, demand for shooting, so how many days people plan to shoot, what bag size do they shoot on, all of the stuff that we want to be able to track year on year. And so we've got, what is it now, 12 years of data to look back on and look at trends. And it's really exciting. I absolutely love my data and number crunching.
Yeah, a data hound.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got two shout outs to give at the beginning. The first is ChatGPT, which has made the data crunching a whole lot easier. But the second, and more seriously, Licits have sponsored the survey for the last few years, and I expect some listeners will know. Well, lots of them will have heard of Licits, insurance brokers for the rural world. And Edmund, who heads up their North Yorkshire office, is just so passionate about shooting, loves being involved in it. Similarly loves data, loves seeing the trends, and it's a very cool piece of work to be able to do. So we've got a huge amount.
And it's not a small project, which I know from personal experience, because I was for a long time the person who compiled the survey itself and also did quite a lot of the number crunching, which is not my forte. But yeah, it's a significant piece of work, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it covers £13.9 million worth of shooting, and all that. The survey, the people who responded to the survey shoot £13.9 million worth of shooting. That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's the total expenditure by everybody who replied to the survey.
Yeah, exactly. And from the shoots who replied to the survey, it covers 1.1 million acres of land under management. So it's chunky.
That's a sizable chunk of the country.
Exactly. Sophie's put it together this year, and we work really hard on with the organisations on getting the right questions and asking things that are repeated over the years, so we can compare, but also bringing up some new sort of more topical data to help the organisations either present stuff to Parliament or to inform them about how they can go about their activity over the coming months and years.
Yeah. Okay, right. So let's start with some of the headline numbers. The one question that I still get asked, even though I haven't worked for Guns on Pegs for a couple of years now, is what's the cost per bird this year? I imagine you get asked it even more frequently than I do.
Yeah, and the answer is, well, it's easy. The cost for a pheasant this year is going to be £50.96. That's ex-VAT.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost for a partridge is going to be £50.77. That is pretty much the same as last year, give or take 10, 12p.
Yeah.
The tricky thing is people ask you, what should I be charging per bird, or what is a decent price for a pheasant in, I don't know.
What's a fair price for me to be paying? Or
in North Yorkshire,
yeah.
or in West Wales, or I don't know, North Norfolk. And that's where it's an average.
Yeah.
But and a huge range actually for a pheasant, for example, from about £37 to just short of £100 is the range. But the average is helpful, and actually looking at year over year, seeing that plateau for the first time in.
I was going to say, because it was going up quite steeply at one point, wasn't it, in the last few years, particularly sort of around that year when bird flu was an issue, and another time when when grain prices and gas prices were through the roof. So it's starting to level off.
Yeah, so that was about £5 per bird increase from 45 to 40, late 49s on the bird flu year. And then it went up by about 50p the following year, and then it's basically plateaued since.
That's very interesting. And is that partly because some of those costs have leveled off as well?
Yeah, I mean, wheat at the minute is, I think, £160 a tonne off the field. Is that right?
Yeah,
thereabouts. That's a huge input cost. And I think shoots are recognising that shooting isn't a profitable game. Very few shoots actually make a profit.
Yes. Do you have that number off the top of your head?
Well, a few years ago, only 11% of shoots even aimed to make a profit. And then the number that did was something like 2 or 3%. So a fraction of shoots. Those that actually did, I expect, would be even smaller. So yeah. And then this year it's about 9% of shoots aim to make a profit as opposed to 11% a few years ago. So I think people are realising, coming to the conclusion that, yeah, as I said, shooting is not a profitable game.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so the prices have leveled off. What impact is that having on the guns? Are people shooting about the same amount? How are people planning ahead for this year?
Yeah, so again, really interestingly this year, the planned average spend for a gun is pretty much bang on the same as it was last year. So £7,254 on average this year.
Right.
which is give or take what it was last year.
A lot of people will be thinking, Christ, that's a hell of a lot to spend on shooting. That was my immediate thought.
Yeah.
But again, like the price per bird, there is a huge variation in that, isn't there? There's some people who spend basically nothing.
Yeah.
And some people who spend,
hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah, 500,000.
There are a handful of people who spend near enough 500,000.
Yeah.
We survey every year. Then you think, can that be possible? But then you look at the number of days they're shooting, the average price per day they're shooting, and then you do the maths and you think, wow, someone's
chuck in some grouse days and a wild grey partridge day and
exactly.
trip to Argentina.
Someone's having a fantastic season. People's planned spend, we look at who's planning to spend more and who's planning to spend less. So 25% of the guns are planning to spend less this season and 16% are planning to spend more. Now that gap is narrowing. So previous years you would have had a bigger gap. So more people planning to spend less than people planning to spend more in the last couple of years.
And of course, the biggest group there is the people who are planning on spending exactly the same.
Yeah,
which makes sense if the average spend is roughly staying the same as well.
Yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing though is the guns this year. We asked them how many days they're planning on shooting.
Yes,
and I think last year it was 11 days. Oh, sorry, in 2022 it was 11 days. And in this year's 25-6 season, it was they're planning to shoot 9 days. Now, the reason I say that's so interesting is because I think guns have also come to the realization that the money that they plan to spend isn't going to reach as far as they want it to. So bag sizes are pretty much, they're down a touch since 2022. The average bag is 113. It's more like 114, 115 in 2022. But if you're a gun in 2022, you would say, right, I'm going to spend £7,250, and I want to shoot on days with an average bag of 113, and I want to shoot 11 days. Now they went home disappointed at the end of the season, and they actually only shot 9 days.
Yes.
This year, people are being more realistic in their expectations and saying, I know now I know what shooting costs. I know what I can afford with my budget. My budget's the same.
Yeah.
But rather than expecting to shoot 13 days, or 11 days, I'm pretty happy with my 9 days.
Yeah. I think we've covered this, or just on bag sizes quickly. I think we have covered this in previous conversations about the census. But I think, a lot of people would suggest that bag sizes have been increasing over time. Now, I seem to remember looking back at some historical data going all the way back to sort of 2013, and actually that bag size has come down a bit since then. But, there is this perception in the world that, the number of big bag days is increasing. And we've also talked about the definition of a big bag.
What do you call a big bag, George?
Well, these days, no. I mean, it's all relative, isn't it? That's the main thing.
What was it, 50 more than...
50 more than the biggest bag you've ever shot is roughly what I would say most people think.
Yeah.
What I do is fine. What you do is
more
tasteless.
But there are very few people who, big bag. We for the census say 250. Just to put a
got to draw a line somewhere.
And it's not saying that's a big bag or a small bag. It doesn't matter. The point is that there are actually very few people ever shoot days with a bag of 250 or more. And the answer this year is only 8% of guns will shoot on a day with a bag of 250.
And I can't remember the statistic about, most people are shooting on syndicates, right? That's the backbone of the shooting world. And you'd be hard pressed to find very many syndicates with an average bag of 250.
No, not a DIY one.
Yeah,
for sure, anyway.
Exactly. What about people's buying habits then? The people who are buying let days or pegs on let days. Are there any stories that have come out of the last few years that you think are worth highlighting? Yeah,
so I used to spend a lot of time speaking with the shoots, and now Gemma and Harry work very closely with the shoots side of things on Guns on Pegs. The question everybody's asking at this time of year is, I'm not quite there. Am I going to get there? As a shoot.
This is the shoots, yeah.
This is a shoot, so I'm not quite sold out. Am I going to get there? And we then came up with a question about asking the guns what percentage of the days that they have planned have they already booked and told the shoot that they're planning on shooting. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. So I'm planning on shooting 9. How many of them have I booked?
Exactly. And that trend, as with everything in the world at the minute, people are buying later, booking later. So in shooting terms, I mean, it's extraordinary. It's fantastic, but it's extraordinary that us game shots book our shooting in February for the following December, January, often. That's a year's wait.
But that is that's changing now.
Yeah, but it is changing. So last year, 2024, it was 64% of the days they planned to shoot were booked.
So 6 out of 9, basically.
Yeah. Then it was 70% the year before that. This year it's down to 62%. So one of the trends is we're seeing people booking later and later and securing the days. They know they're going to shoot their 9 days this year, but they've only booked 6 out of the 6 of them.
So there's 2 questions there that follow on from that. What does that mean for the shoots? They've obviously got a slightly hairier few months at this time of year when they may have thought that they'd have a slightly fuller diary than they actually do.
And
so,
there is more shooting out there than there has been before because of that number.
So does that? So again, this is there's shoots and there's shoots, right? So there's some shoots that will have been fully booked since February.
Yes, and no.
Okay. Expand.
I don't think there are that many shoots in the country at the minute that you couldn't buy a day at.
That's very interesting.
And I think that's been the same for the last few years. That might come onto it in a bit, but the shoots are planning to put down more and more birds over the last few years, planning to shoot more days. And that's led to a gap in supply and demand.
So it's this quite weird situation where prices are going up, but supply is also going up, which doesn't fit with your normal economic supply and demand model.
No, but then we've got.
Is it a buyer's market or is it not?
We've got to consider the shoots at the minute, and it's running a shoot is a really finely balanced operation, and nobody can sit here and say, you shoot over there, stop putting down so many birds, stop trying to shoot so many days, because you're not going to break even unless you shoot the number of days that your ground should have shot.
Yes.
And the fixed costs spread over a greater number of days. So it's impossible for us to say to any individual shoot, reduce the number of days or reduce the bag sizes. But as a general rule, supply and demand would say that if you're setting up a new shoot, my advice to you is to shoot smaller days. I always say 113 is the average bag. Only 8% shoot more than 250.
And I think I remember we used to see that in sort of search data on the site as well.
Yeah,
that people really, if you put 100 bird day up, it's gone in no time at all.
Because there are so many more people who can afford to shoot or want to shoot in a 100 bird day compared to 250. So if you're starting a shoot, that's a good, if you can make it work on your ground.
Yeah. But it's also really interesting that you say that there's very few shoots in the country where you couldn't buy a day. Because I think for a very long time, it really was the case that there were certain shoots that were, more or less dead men's shoes. You had to be really lucky to get a day. But I think what you seem to be saying is that now, if your horses come in and you've got a few quid lying around and you do fancy that sort of red letter day shoot, you've got a pretty decent chance of getting onto that one that you've always dreamed of going to.
Well, yes, but again, I want to stick up for the shoots here and say, consider how hard a time these shoots have putting on a full season without commitment. And one of the things we can do to share some of the burden, share some of the load of as guns, as a shooting community, is say, look, I know that the rest of the world buys a day before they get it on Amazon Prime or whatever, but the shooting world is impossible because you're putting your birds down. Your birds go to wood in June, July, August, or June, July. So if you don't,
and then they've got to be ordered from the game farmer in February,
March.
Yeah.
I just think we've got to think about how we can support the shooting world as a whole. And if that trend keeps on going the way it is at the minute and gets a lot further down the line, sort of only half of your shooting's booked at this time, then you're going to have shoots saying it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to consider those shoots. So if you do know you're shooting, please do tell the shoots that you're planning on buying the days. It's going to make their lives a whole lot easier and mean that we can continue shooting at the place we love to shoot in the future. But having said that, it is a buyer's market. If you're looking for a special day, you'll be able to find it. We've got so much availability on GunsOnPegs. It's really exciting, actually. Yeah. There's some stuff going out at the minute that I would absolutely love to do. Which, it's really cool.
Give us one example. We've been doing it on the when I record with Jake, Avian, and Sam. We do what's now been called Grand's Day Out.
Yes, actually,
Not the Grand Day Out, but Grand's Day Out.
Grands, but in plural.
With Grand apostrophe S. So a day
Grands,
out, a day out for under £1,000.
Brilliant.
But yes, so
not a day out for your gran.
Well, it could be.
If you're a premium member of Guns on Pegs, we've got this new feature called Sealed Bids.
Okay.
And honestly, it's the coolest thing we've done on Guns on Pegs, because if there's a shoot that's had a last minute cancellation or got a day that they haven't sold, they need to sell, and they would take a lot less than the asking price for it just to cover the cost of the pizzas, I don't know, chef, the accommodation, whatever it might be. They put it up on Guns on Pegs, and then as a premium member, you can put an offer in. Now, for a trip to the Western Isles at the minute that's up on a sealed bid, it'll be gone by the time this goes live. But just to give you an idea, list price is £2,000 for a week fully catered.
Right.
For a week's goose shooting. And if you put in a bid for like 400 quid or something like that, there is a reserve price.
Yeah.
And there will be a reserve price, but you never know.
Yeah.
And the number of people who said, I would have put in a bid of this or that for it. And actually, because I know the shooter, I know they would have accepted it. So you just got to get your hat in the ring and have a punt, put your sealed bid in. Because there's some
That's
really cool
very
stuff
cool feature. I didn't know that was in the pipes.
Yeah, well, it's live now, and there's something going out this afternoon. So yeah, it won't be live then. But that would be the place. If I had a spare few hundred lying around, I definitely would put a bid on.
Okay,
that's cool.
That's really cool.
But
okay.
Again, that is dead man's shoes.
Yeah.
It's Western Isles goose shooting, lock trout fishing. My dream kind of trip.
Well, and because they do, it's a week-long trip. They have a limited number of weeks that they can do in any given season. Yeah. So, yes, it's obviously far more limited. Okay, so we've talked a bit about the shoots. Can you give me just some sort of, some fun stats on the shoots? What size is the average shoot?
Average shoot is 1,800 acres.
Seems quite big.
It does, doesn't it? But then you've got to think of all the grouse moors.
Yeah.
And actually, you're from Hampshire. I'm from Cornwall, where 1,800 acres is an enormous estate.
Yes.
But when you get up into the Highlands...
And most shoots are on leased ground as well, aren't they?
Yes. I think 50% of the shoots own some of the land that they shoot on. Might not be all of it, but still that's shoots of all shapes and sizes.
Mm-hmm.
So farm shoots, syndicate shoots, that sort of stuff. But it is pretty big. A couple of stats I really like: 27 acres of cover crop planted.
That's phenomenal, isn't it?
Which is again, when you do the maths on that, that's a serious proportion of the country is in wild bird seed mixes made.
Did you say 27 acres?
27 acres.
That's amazing.
Yep. And 60% of that is in wild bird seed mix.
Wow.
So that's also quite exciting.
Going up as well. That was a smaller number last year, I remember.
It was a small number 2 years. I haven't looked at last year, but it's a small number 2 years ago. Average number of days a shoots is 13. The number of birds shot per shoot has risen every year over the last few years, as we were discussing.
It's not a huge jump, though, is it? It's never a massive jump. Nobody ever goes, well, we're going to do another 50% this year. They just sort of inch it up, don't they?
No, and that's the way you have to do it. And then there'll be some shoots that have a bit of a that have to reduce the number of birds they shoot for 1 year for whatever reason. But the average is slowly ticking up, which is
It's very interesting. Okay, and so we talked a bit about what the bag size as far as the guns are concerned. We've spoken before, and we've spoken about it before on the podcast a lot, actually, is, that kind of break-even point, that the number of birds on the game cart at the end of the day where a commercially operated shoot starts to break even, which is sort of around, for most people, it's around the sort of 200, 250, that kind of neck of the woods, isn't it? But obviously, we've talked about this sort of rebalancing that's been going on. So what are the shoots doing this year in terms of their bag sizes?
So, again, plateauing. I think it's a good thing for the plateauing sounds negative. I don't think it is negative. I think we've just reached a point where we know where we're at.
Yeah.
And that's a really good place to be, I think. But the 23 census shoots, 42% of shoots said they wanted to shoot bigger bags.
Gosh, so nearly half of them wanted to shoot a bigger bag.
Yeah, 24 census, it was 27%. 2024, 1 in 4 shoots said they wanted to shoot a bigger bag that season. And this year, 8% of shoots say they
Only
want to
8%. So
so
they're kind of finding their equilibrium
Yeah.
with demand.
Again, as I said, it's a really good place to be, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's exciting, a bit of stability. And shoots know that they're producing a really good product, and that's exciting as well.
Yeah, that is really cool. Okay, so you already mentioned
George, what are you doing on your shoot bag size-wise?
I think we're going to, if anything, we'll probably drop a bit.
Deliberately, or?
Yeah, we're getting slightly fewer birds in. It's been a tough year for farming.
Yeah, okay.
And my sister got married, so there's a bit less cash floating about. But no, we'll be broadly the same. No, I'll tell you what, we'll probably have roughly the same bags, because what I have noticed is that each year we tend to shoot a bit better.
Interesting.
And we're getting a bit better at getting the partridges over the guns each year. So, last year we had our sort of best average bag size for a long time, and it has been on a steady upward trend. So what it means is that people like you who come and shoot with us are getting more accurate as time goes
I
on.
I really don't think that's true at all. I think your keeper, Jason,
He's doing a great job, yeah. I didn't I mentioned it on the last podcast, but we've got some lovely wild broods about.
Yeah, I heard
some red legs kicking around, which is really great, and some wild pheasants as well, which is really nice. Wild in very large inverted commas. But yeah, really. So it's nice that we know that there's that sort of supplement there as well. So yes, that's all really good and fascinating stuff. Actually, have you got any big numbers that people can use in the pub when they want to make the case for shooting? I always think that it's great when stuff like that comes out of proper data rather than just vibes.
Yeah, I mentioned the 27 acres of cover crop. That is, you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
And the nearly 60%, I think it's actually 56% of cover crop put into wild bird seed mixes. And that, as George said, that has gone up, and that is, you can't deny that, the positive benefit that's having on the countryside. Those are the two biggest. 7 acres of woodland planted per year.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah, but then again,
it's one person planting 100 acres.
Yeah, but you're not going to plant woodland every year, are you?
No.
You're probably going to plant woodland once every 30, 50, 100 years. So if every shoot plants a good chunk every generation, which it tends to be what happens, right?
Yeah, someone wants another drive.
Yeah. Don't give me ideas.
How many trees have you planted, Diggers?
I have planted none. But my grandfather, I talked 30 years. 30 years ago, my grandfather planted, 15, 20 acres.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably time. I don't know. I don't want to speak on behalf of my father, but we'll see. You know which way I'd be pushing. But.
Yes. Okay. Well, those are really useful numbers, I think, for people to use. So, Digby, I mentioned at the beginning that I used to put the census together for several years, and one of the ways in which I prevented myself from going insane was to slide in a few sneaky, silly questions at the end, just for my own entertainment mainly. But every now and again, something fun came out as a statistic. But I understand that the tradition has continued in my absence, and that this year people were asked to name people, dead, living, or fictional, who they would like to share a day's shooting with. So I thought that rather than doing desert island shooting or something like that to round this off, which you've done before and I've done before, we'd put together a dream team between us. So it's you and me, and then we're going to choose each one living person, one dead person, and one fictional character to join us on this day's shooting.
It's going to be a good day's shooting.
Well,
what happens if you have the same person? We haven't collaborated.
We haven't collaborate. Well, maybe we will have the same person, and then we'll have to pick someone else.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let you go first.
Right. What do you want me to start with?
Let's start with your living, real person.
Okay. Can I give you? I want the shoot day to be on. I think it's the 20th of November, 21st of November this year. I think that's the first day of the first Ashes test.
Oh, okay.
And I want to shoot with Stuart Broad. And I want to then sit down and watch.
Does Stuart shoot, do you think?
No, I don't think he does. He should though.
He ought to. Yeah.
He'd be very aggressive, wouldn't he?
he'd be claiming.
Oh, I hit that
hang
one.
on.
I hit that
Would
one.
he be claiming he'd hit them or not hit them?
That's brilliant, George. I like that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, Stuart Broad. And then I'd love to sit down and watch
some highlights with him.
The whole evening with him of the first Ashes.
That would be very good. Yes.
And hear his thoughts.
He's a left-handed batsman. Do you think he'd shoot left-handed?
Yeah, he doesn't like being bounced in. He didn't like being bounced.
No.
So I think anything coming, they're going to have to be high birds because otherwise he might have a bit of PTSD of a pheasant flying in his head.
I just feel that Stuart Broad might be an over and under man. 36-inch barrels.
Oh, now you're making me go off him. I don't want to advise him anymore.
What do you think, though? I think probably,
No, side-by-side traditional.
You think he'd be
traditional? Yeah, very
elegant.
elegant.
Okay. Yes. Actually, you had a very nice cover drive, Stuart Broad, when you wanted to. Okay.
Go on, what about yours? Living?
My living, well, I've chosen another cricketer.
Oh, surprise.
I've gone for Sir Alistair Cook.
Do they get on, Stewie and
Alistair? They played together for years, didn't they? Now, Alistair Cook is a shot.
Yes.
And in fact, I was in the same pub as him after a shoot day at the end of last season.
Oh, really?
He was there in his breeks.
What part of the world was that?
I was in Hampshire. I didn't go and say hello because I thought it would probably be a bit, hi, will you come on my podcast? But if you're listening, Sir Alistair, come on the podcast.
That would be wonderful. Stuart, you too.
Yes. But I imagine that he's a pretty tidy shot, if unflashy.
Can you imagine that? Like, again, same day? Can we have it on the same day?
Oh, yeah. We're all
November.
Yeah.
Hear his thoughts on the test as well.
I think that's a very good idea. Okay. So, who is your dead?
Oh, I feel bad now. The late great Shane Warne, but now we've got a very cricket heavy. For the same reason, I want to hear his thoughts on.
Yeah.
No, sorry, that's very boring. Isn't it?
Now, Shane Warne is a poacher. He is poaching birds from 2 pegs down. I
think he'd have very good field craft.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I think he'd be the kind of guy say to everybody, I'm going to go and stand. I'm just going to take myself away. I'm just going to pop behind that hedge there and just look for the odd bird that's going back.
Yeah.
And
I'll walk with the beaters on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he'd come back, carrying a couple of brace or something like that, wouldn't he?
Yes. I think he'd be extremely good value on the gun bus. I think that's the main thing about Shane.
Cricket heavy. What about yours, George?
So I've gone for Ernest Hemingway.
Okay.
Who, to the best of my knowledge, was not a cricketer.
No, keen fisherman.
Very keen fisherman. Mainly big game stuff, tuna and marlin and all that stuff.
Famously, yeah.
But a very keen hunter. Africa and...
Oh, is he? So not a game shot, but he did
big
hunt.
Game was his thing.
Very thoughtful as well.
Yes.
I wonder how he'd get on with Shane.
I reckon they'd both have some pretty tall tales
to
tell one another. But yes, he was a very big sort of, hunting in Africa chap. I imagine he'd be a pretty decent shot, but I don't know if he'd have done a lot of driven shooting.
Have you got a reason in particular? Do you just want to meet him or you want to shoot with him?
A bit of both. He's not my favourite writer in the world, although some of his stuff about the Spanish Civil War and so on, that was all very good. And he wrote very beautifully and movingly about bullfighting. But I think he just did a lot of interesting things in his life. And, as much as I don't particularly love his style of writing, it's always interesting to talk to other writers about how they go about the thing.
Learn a thing or two from Ernest Hemingway. That wouldn't be too bad, would it, George?
Well, he and I are quite different because his rule of thumb is why use 4 words when you could use 2. and my view is very, very different.
padding. I hope he likes cricket, but because otherwise,
he'd be in trouble if he doesn't. Okay, right. Finally, then, your fictional character.
I was going to say Robin Hood. It's the bow and arrow side of things.
Yeah,
and
nice.
I used to love running around with my brother trying to shoot.
That's a really good idea.
But I just had to drop that one in because I think it's quite cool.
Yeah.
But I actually say Bean from Bogus Bunsen Bean, Fantastic Mr. Fox. One fat, one short, one lean. Bean being the lean one who made cider and kept geese, I think. Or was that Bogus or Bunce? What did he keep? He kept some poultry of some kind, didn't he? But he was mean One fat, one short, one lean. Mean? He was a mean guy, loved his cider, desperately wanted to get hold of the fox. I always sided with him, really, actually, when I read the story.
Yes.
I just think he'd
I imagine him as a Yorkshireman.
yeah.
Or is he a Cornishman in your head?
In my head, he's a Cornishman. He looks a lot like someone I know, but no, I'm joking. Yeah, I think definitely Bean.
Okay, very cool. So my fictional character is Bertie Wooster.
Okay.
From the Jeeves and Wooster stories, because he's a 2-for-1, because he doesn't go anywhere without Jeeves. And Jeeves...
That's cheating.
Well, Jeeves is important because when Shane Warne inevitably gets us in trouble, Jeeves would get us out of the hole.
Oh, no, that's very well thought through. Or very well
I had
muddled.
a feeling that you'd pick someone who'd get us in trouble. Bertie is, nice but dim. He's the original nice but dim. Impeccable manners.
Funny guy. I actually don't know Jeeves and Worcester. Is he
funny guy, always up for a party, likes a drink. I'm fairly confident he wouldn't hit a thing all day. But just, jovial and cheerful and jolly.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I think he'd be a nice chap to have around.
That's a great team, isn't it?
It's a really good team.
Yeah.
This might become a more regular feature.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up in a minute, but there was another silly question in the census this year. And I completed the census, so I can remember what my answer for this one was. The question was asking people to describe their shooting using a song or a movie title. So, Digby, what would yours be?
Mine would be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Okay, in that you're inconsistent.
Mostly bad and ugly.
Inconsistent shooting.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's very, very noble of you.
No, I think it's just
to admit that on occasion you're all right, but most of the time shit.
Very rare occasion. I just love that film as well.
Yeah,
I think is one of that westerns. I used to time, or I have timed before. I've seen them several times. How many minutes it takes before a word is said, and how many people die.
Ages.
How many people get shot by Clint before he says his first word. There's one of those films that is something like 15 minutes or 13 minutes before he says a word, and he's already killed dozens of baddies.
Yes.
So it's got a bit of western sort of pow to it as well.
Very nice. Good. So I went with Things Can Only Get Better. And you can read into that what you will.
Yeah.
Has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that my grouse has been cancelled. Good. Well, Digby, thank you for coming on.
No, thank you, George.
It's always fun having you on. And some really interesting data and info in there again.
Yeah, I just want we're putting together lots of articles in a minute, so check out the Guns on Pegs website or our newsletter because lots. We use the data throughout the year to tell the stories and have a bit of fun with it as well.
Yeah. Right, so before we go, all that remains for me to say is there's a final reminder that you can get your hands on a pair of the very exclusive Guns on Pegs podcast shooting sock garters by sending us your shooting dilemmas for us to resolve, or sharing your unpopular opinions, your forgotten drives, or your podcast suggestions. Just drop us an email to pod@gunsonpegs.com, and if we read it out in the next episode, we will send you some garters. Normal service of podcasting will resume in a couple of weeks, but until then, thanks very much for listening, and goodbye.